Speaking of rumors and things that are dead, let's wrap it up with the last story of the day. Is PlayStation Experience back? So this is coming from Wired Up Report. I didn't have an author for this one. Sony Interactive Entertainment, SIE, registered the trademark PSX on June 11th, 2021. The trademark is related to creating, organizing, and conducting exhibitions and conferences in the field of entertainment and video games. And that's the end of the quote, based on official information shown by the registration body used. Of course, it's easy to think this is a new PlayStation experience. As always, we remind you that Sony has not announced any type of event for the moment, and that this recording may not be linked to upcoming events. In any case, this is a suspicious situation, given that it takes place in the post E3 2021 period, and that multiple rumors point the fingers towards a new PlayStation conference. Adam, does PlayStation Experience live?
I mean, in stream form, maybe. I don't know if we're going to talk about like a physical like convention.
You don't think so?
I don't know. It depends on. I don't know if they'll be the first ones to do it, because like I've seen people be like, "Oh, they're going to try doing it in December." I'm like, man, I would not want to be the one to try that first, and just have like a disaster on your hands. I think like maybe they register the trademark, see how E3 goes, see how like the first Gamescom goes, see what PAX looks like if they have one. I think they look at all that. I think PlayStation Experience might be a stream at the end of the year or something again. And then next year they'll see how everybody's doing with, getting back to things normally with all the convention floor stuff. And maybe they'll take a look at that and be like, hey, like we could probably put a foot forward here and do something. Or they could just be like, nah, it's not worth the trouble. I think at the very least they're keeping the patent so that they don't have to worry about anybody taking it from them again. But I don't know if this means anything so far. I don't know if this is like an automatic, oh, they're going to do something big. I don't know if that means anything.
I think they're going to. I think they're just patenting it so that they have it, like you said. I don't think that this would be the year to do it. Like we're getting close to the end of the pandemic, but like there's still a lot of who knows what up in the air. I think we all kind of get this false hope just because at least here it's summer. So like cases naturally go down when summer hits. What it looks like in the winter, who knows? Like flu season is the same way. Like flu season always goes down in the summer and then it comes back in the winter. And I am not a scientist or a doctor by any means. Do not take this as like logic, but there's still a lot of uncertainty going on right now for you to kind of say, hey, we're going to be doing this massive convention. Like we don't know what the systems are going to look like, what travel is going to look like. There's a whole bunch of questions up in the air. Do I think Sony's going to do another PlayStation experience? I think so. Like I think we talked about this last week in our podcast about what E3 should become, and I think that this idea of doing a fan-centric show is where you kind of do a big conference. And so I think PlayStation Experience is coming back. Does it come back this year? Probably not. Probably 2022. Because like even at this point, if they'd announce it for December, they have 6 months to get people all signed up, get everything booked, get everything arranged, and like that's a lot to do, especially with all the uncertainty that we've been talking about. So,
and I mean, it's definitely like a good time for them now, given how many studios they have running in their wares these days. So, I mean, not to mention, I mean, they can also bring in third party developers again to show off like core games for their console. But I mean, we haven't seen one since 2017, at least here in the West. I think they had a couple in Asia after that, but I don't think we've seen one since 2017. So there's been some time. I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea. I mean, shit, like we're all sitting here being like, man, if we can get a pass to E3, we'll take that. I mean, shit, if we can get a pass with the Sony experience, that's still a pretty good win for us too. So
I feel like we've talked up Sony enough that we're probably on the invite list.
Yeah, I mean, I keep having Blue in this room. Like Sony, I can't convince you any further, can I?
Hey, I've got a whole basement dedicated to PlayStation. Like, I know we're not a PlayStation podcast, but we're kind of Sony ponies. So
we kind of are. I think
we kind of are.
There's secretly a Sony logo hidden in the black in the giant P's in our logo. So
yeah. Really, it's just a smoke screen. It's really just PlayStation podcast there. So,
but I mean, it's like anything else. I would love to see it come back. It's just a matter of does Sony think it's worth putting in the money and effort to do it? That's the big thing. Because God only knows what happens in the next year, especially when we get back to a sense of normal. Like how many people are going to take a chance on something just because they figure there's going to be this big wave of people? Because I'm really interested to see what conventions are going to look like in the first 12 months when we're allowed to have them again. Because how many people suddenly put money together because they think that people will have all this like desire to go out and do stuff, so they'll spend money on so many of these conventions to try to make up for like the 12, 16, 18 months that they've not done anything for. So you wonder, like, does Jeff Keighley get some extra money together and see if they put like Summer Game Fest into an actual like exhibition thing, like a PAX? Like, you don't know, because there's so many possibilities of people coming out into the open and being like, hey, people have been cooped up for a long time. This could be a real good money train for a couple of years if we play our cards right. And even if it's a one and done, like, you can probably make some decent money out of it that way. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea if Sony decides to do it. It's a matter of, do they think it's profitable enough to be worth their time?
Yeah. So let's put our corporate, brain thinking hats on, and let's pretend that we're Sony sitting in the boardroom right now. They walk up to us and they say, guys, we're building PSX 2.0. What does PSX 2.0 look like for you? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like in post-pandemic 2021, but like, let's just assume things go back to normal, conventions become a thing. Like, what do you want PSX 2.0 to look like?
I mean, if I'm putting on my corporate shirt, I'm just saying I don't care. Just fire enough people that I get my bonus at the end of the year.
You're the intern. You're the intern that the corporate guy comes to and says, "Hey, make me this convention. What are you doing?"
You take a look at what PAX does, and you basically emulate off of that.
Okay.
You don't want to be like E3. You don't want to be over the top, and you don't want to be this massive show. Like, you want to be a convention that takes the core stuff. You want your stuff to be the focal point. That's what the big showroom's for. You have the big showroom for like your big conference at the end of the year, like your secondary like E3 press conference, whatever the hell you want to do. Because like I said, I'd still love the idea of one in the summer, one in the winter, so that way you get like a pretty good fair amount of information out, and then have fun with it. Like, open it up to indie devs that you already have like set up on your console, have them put some demos out, get a chance to, get their product out there, get some merch guys in there, get your sponsorships together, get all your money out that way, get some friggin' big names in there, get some YouTube stars, you get those people in there, they do some shows here and there, the fans come in for that. Like, you find outlets to get people in the door, but you always keep in mind that your stuff is the focal point. The horizon for, like, let's say it's, none of the games are out that are coming out. You have that Horizon Forbidden West banner, front line and center, giant Kratos friggin' banner just flying down, like, or just like, somebody walking around, like, just constantly yelling boy at people in a fucking Kratos outfit to keep the thing going. You do all that stuff, and you make it clear as day that this is Sony's PAX. Like, you basically want that to be that. If you try to be corporate, it's going to fail, because that's why E3 has failed for so long. So, I mean, that's honestly it. Like, I could come up with a bunch of like smaller ideas if you gave me enough time to do it, but realistically, I would just point to what PAX does every year and be like, okay, that, but with our fucking like amount of product, like our high quality product, that.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Like, I think what I would do is, you make it like this is your big E3 event for Sony. So this is where you do your big, hour and a half convention. You have all your fans there. You have the press there. You show off the new games that are coming out. But then on the show floor, you have, you have games for people to play. You have activities and interactions. So, have panels where you have, developers that are talking. You bring like Neil Druckmann out and kind of get him to do like a debrief on The Last of Us or something, where you get
get some surprises in there. Find Kevin Butler, see if he'll do a panel.
No, they don't talk to him anymore. He's dead to them. So
I don't care. Kevin, make it work.
So like you get those panels, you get those events, you get games for people to play, you do tournaments, you do merch, you do all that kind of stuff. Make it a PlayStation weekend, and then I think that's where you get people. And then the one thing I think I would do is, have it on a consistent date. But like, I think one of the things that they need to maybe think about doing is, I know they used to, I think it was always was it like Anaheim that they did it? It was always like I think it was always in California or something like that. And I think that made sense when it was starting out. But I think what they should do is it should almost become a global thing. So, 1 year it's in California, 1 year it's in New York, 1 year it's in British Columbia. 1 year it's in London. Like kind of have it circle the globe so that your fan base wherever they are can kind of engage and get to experience it. So like I'm not saying do it everywhere at the same time, but have it kind of float around different parts of the world so that different people can kind of experience it. So
Yeah.
or even do like one, like have one in Europe, have one in North America, and have one in Asia. But like I think you really need to make it accessible to the fans, and you kind of put the fans first. And I think that's something that E3 has kind of forgotten, in that they don't realize that. I think for the most part, it's fans that drive the E3 now. It's not the ESA. It's not retailers. It's not even journalists, because they're doing it for us, the audience. And so I think you're right. I think it needs to become a little bit more of a PAX experience.
Yeah, I mean, the gist of it is you get your stuff out there and you make it fun. Like, that's really it. Like, you don't need to do much else. It really isn't that hard too, because I mean, if you've got the names there, if you're showing off like a new trailer for God of War, you're doing a big conference, so there might be some surprises. You have some cool games showing up to do some demos and stuff. You really don't have to do much else. You can literally just throw a bunch of like random names in there. Say like, oh, we're bringing in this guy who's a famous Twitch guy, and he's just going to do a panel about Twitch for an hour, and people will show up to that. Like, you don't have to try that hard.
No, like there's a ton of PlayStation podcasters out there who you can get in. You get like you said, Twitch streamers. You get even just like figureheads at Sony just coming in there available. Like if you just make it accessible to the players, like I think that's what they need to do. So,
and there's so many things you can do as well, like that are even outside of that. Like MLB The Show is technically still a Sony studio property, so all I have to do is be like, hey, like give Fernando Tatis Jr. a call, get a friggin' like sports guy in there. That's another kind of audience that suddenly wants to go in there, and you get them to take a look at your products at the same time. Like there's so many ways using your brand to get people in there. Not even to mention like there are other outside stuff. Like you can have your own Sony booths in there to show off your speakers or your televisions, because Lord knows you're trying to sell that stuff along with it. So like it's really easy to get so many different people in there that isn't just for gaming, and suddenly having them in there and also being like, oh, but that thing for PlayStation looks really cool. Maybe I should think about getting my kids a PlayStation, or maybe I should get one.
Yeah, you know what? You made a really good point there. Like you have all your Sony like equipment set up, so like you're playing it on Sony OLED TVs, and suddenly I'm playing God of War on an OLED, and I'm like, oh shit, this looks amazing, much better than what I have at my house. Like maybe I should grab this TV when the God of War comes out, and then I could replicate this experience at my house or whatever. So
yeah,
I think that's a really good point, to like just kind of diversify the stuff that you're doing.
Your core is to get people in the door with all the fun stuff, and then you sell them. That's literally it.
Yeah. You're literally dressing up a trailer, and that's what E3 is too. You're dressing up a trailer and an advertisement, and then people are gobbling it up. And I think, I honestly, I'd love to see it come back. And I mean, I talked about it last week, that I think that more of these, developers and publishers need to make customer-centric stuff that engages them.
But seriously, I don't care. Time has passed. Bring Kevin Butler back. Those were the best commercials.
They were the best commercials.
They really were the best commercials. There's nothing that tops that.
No.
And if you don't know honestly, what we're talking about, go as soon as you're done this podcast, because you're not allowed to finish it until the podcast is over.
Yeah.
You make sure you go and YouTube search Kevin Butler PlayStation and just watch all of them, because they're all good.
There's not a bad one. There's not a bad one. And then until you get into Marcus is not as good.
Yeah, it's not as fun anymore. It's not the same.
No. You need Kevin Butler.